UCMC. Our briefing is about competition on energy market. To be or not to be. And we have chairman of the Antimonopoly Committee and representatives of the Competition Development Foundation. Good afternoon. First of all, I would like to introduce the representatives of the Competition Development Foundation, Mr. Tsyvkach and Mr. Melnichenko. We've been working with the foundation on issues where we need the participation. I can say that this is the first round table after I was appointed to the position of the chairman of Antimonopoly Committee. Before that, we had the meetings and we had round tables, conferences, which we organized on issues of procedural activities of Antimonopoly Committee, on fines, on reforms of the system of competitive law and competitive policy. And these issues were held both in Ukraine and during the annual meeting of the Committee on Competition and Protection of Consumers in Geneva. Yesterday there was a meeting, the topic of which was, on the one hand, to make a picture of today's situation in energy sector and to understand the situation with the development of energy sector in Ukraine, and it's on generation and distribution and on natural gas. As to natural gas, that was the continuation of the discussion that was started in May this year, so we paid little time, less time to that, and more time was spent discussing electricity market issues. The representatives of state bodies and companies accepted our invitation. Besides the committee and the foundation, we had representatives of the Cabinet of Ministers of Ukraine, MPs of Ukraine, the head of NERC, Dmytro Vovk, representatives of European Commission on Energy Issues, representatives of competitive agencies of the Federal Trade Commission on Commerce, the representative of Austrian Competitive Agency and Bulgarian Competitive Agency. From business, we had Energoatom, Ukrgidroenergo, Energomarket, Energorynek, and DTEC. We started from how Antimonopoly Committee perceives the problems of today in the sphere of generation and distribution of electricity. After that, the floor was given to the Cabinet of Ministers, NERC, international experts, and business. What was unique in this event is that it was absolutely open, and the representatives of different ideas basically there were differences in tactical issues, but talking about strategy, everyone shares understanding of principles, how the market should be developing, what are the standards of competitive behavior in the market, and who should be the locomotive of the development of these markets. But let me give the floor to Serhiy and Oleksandr so that they tell about their understanding of that, and then I will answer questions, or we may touch upon more specific aspects of.
Доброго дня. Я би хотів тільки два слова сказати про причини організації нашого вчорашнього круглого столу і дати вам трошки інформації про історію створення ринку електроенергії в Україні. Концепція реформування ринку електроенергії в Україні була створена в 1995 році, і вона була побудована на основі британської системи, тобто енергопула. І в 1996 році був прийнятий закон про електроенергію, який працює до сьогодні. Були внесені зміни на протязі часу, проте він повністю не змінювався. І тепер, тобто ця система не є проконкурентною, тому що є одне підприємство, яке отримує енергію, потім розподіляє на обленерго і потім вона продається. Існуючий законопроект на даний момент, він повністю і докорінно міняє цю систему. Тобто виводиться з ринку ця одна оптова рада електроенергії і вводяться інститути довгострокових та короткострокових договорів між учасниками ринку. Це є дуже важливим, тому що це є проконкурентним. Це забирає додаткове регулювання від НКРЕКП, тобто вони вже не повинні встановлювати ціни на електроенергію за новою системою. І тому ціни на електроенергію повинні бути економічно обґрунтованими у відповідності до цієї системи. Це є дуже проконкурентна система, як я сказав, і Фонд розвитку конкуренції підтримує цю ініціативу. Проте є такі елементи, наприклад, як державний нагляд. До цих питань треба віднестись дуже серйозно, тому що додаткове регулювання, або якщо це буде зроблено, цей інститут буде не продуманий достатньо повноцінно, це може призвести до деяких проблем. Тобто це заслуговує на додаткове обговорення. І як Юрій Олександрович сказав, вчора у нас були представники міжнародних організацій, органів державної влади. Я би тільки хотів підкреслити, що ключовим органом державної влади, хто був також співініціатором і співорганізатором, я можу сказати це на 100%, це був Антимонопольний комітет України. І ми, як фонд, ми підтримуємо відкритість, чіткість позиції і активну позицію Антимонопольного комітету в цьому питанні. Тому що Антимонопольний комітет є тим органом, через який повинна проходити вся політика і реформи економіки, секторів економіки в Україні, тому що він повинен це оцінювати з точки зору захисту конкуренції і конкуренційного законодавства і політики в Україні. Тобто тут це є дуже важливим елементом. І ще би хотів додати, що ми будемо далі співпрацювати з Антимонопольним комітетом України, розраховуємо на співпрацю, і в нас вже створена ця платформа, де зустрічаються як експерти, так і представники державних органів, так і представники бізнесу, і суспільство може також дивитись наші заходи, деякі з них навіть подаються в прямому онлайн-режимі. На цьому я би хотів тоді передати слово Олександру Івановичу.
Дякую.
Будь ласка.
Я хочу теж доповнити декілька слів. Доброго дня, шановні колеги. І нагадати вам про те, що роль Антимонопольного комітету України в суспільстві, в суспільних процесах, в економічних процесах ще була певною мірою окреслена тоді, коли народжувалася конкурентна політика Європи. Ви пам'ятаєте, що Людвіг Ерхард колись сказав так, що він був родоначальником європейського конкуренційного права, він сказав так, що антимонопольне відомство повинно захистити мене, бундесбюргера, тобто німця, громадянина, від мене чиновника, урядовця. І Антимонопольному комітету України сьогодні надані повноваження, які не має жодне інше державне відомство. Тут і застереження про тих функцій, які інколи називають прокурорськими, хоча це так можна інакше називати, але принаймні у них є функція перевірки суб'єктів господарювання, прийняття рішень, розслідувань, прийняття рішень у сфері господарювання, там, де ці суб'єкти господарювання є порушниками конкуренційного законодавства. Але що дуже важливо, що Український антимонопольний комітет має право контролю за державними відомствами. Він певною мірою дотичний до конкурентної політики держави в цілому. Він має право вносити свої пропозиції від президента і Верховної Ради до Кабінету міністрів своєю реакцією на ті рішення, які приймаються. І це дуже важливо. Він може вносити, він не має права законодавчої ініціативи, зрозуміло, але він має право вносити пропозиції до законодавчих актів. І тому, скажімо, дуже важливо, яку позицію завтра буде займати Антимонопольний комітет України під час розгляду тих законопроєктів, які будуть стосуватися його долі, його повноважень, уточнення якихось функцій тощо. І для нас, Фонду розвитку конкуренції, було дуже важливо, що комітет відгукнувся, і не просто відгукнувся, а ініціював навіть свою відкритість, він показав свою публічність, він показав, що він є саме лідером реформування тих галузей, стратегічних галузей економіки, від яких залежить життя кожної української родини, кажучи вже про життя кожного українського бізнесу, а ми кажемо про ринки енергетики. Тому, нагадуючи про те, що за декілька днів виповниться 6 місяців призначення голови Антимонопольного комітету, Олександр, дуже вас вітаємо вже з цим. І я думаю, що це час, коли вже можна підвести перші підсумки і сказати хороші слова про те, як комітет почав. Дай Бог, щоб він і далі так рухався в цьому ж напрямку, тому що багато хто очікує від комітету миттєвих розслідувань, миттєвих рішень. Так не буває. Жодне відомство світу антимонопольне за мить, за тиждень, за місяць не розслідує конкуренційні справи. Уявіть собі, для цього треба зібрати величезний масив інформації від суб'єктів господарювання, величезний масив інформації від державних органів, інколи це конфіденційна, інколи просто таємна інформація, тому що це органи, з якими комітет співпрацює, це правоохоронні органи відомі. І проаналізувати, і дати свій економіко-правовий погляд на те питання. Він такі справи розслідує зараз, ви знаєте, в гаузі енергетики. Дуже важливі справи, прецедентні справи, справи, на яких буде перевірятися, власне, професійність антимонопольного комітету. Ми щиро бажаємо, щоб у нього все склалося. І тому вчорашній круглий стіл був присвячений тому, щоб комітет мав можливість вислухати протилежні точки зору не тільки в процесі конкуренційному, у себе в стінах антимонопольного комітету, а тут, на публіці, серед провідних експертів, за участю світових експертів, людей з світовими іменами. І ми надаємо такий майданчик. Олександр, для вас дійсно дуже приємно, що ви відгукнулися на це. І щиро бажаємо вам успіхів. Дякую.
Дякую, Олександр Іванович. Так, дякую. В кого є питання?
Any questions to presenters? Now I have a question. In the result of the discussions, understanding that getting the facts for energy sector is complicated, there's no investigation going on, but when we are talking about energy market, what is the key problem to your mind? How to ensure competition? Does it all depend on implementation of new regulatory bases, or are there the instruments which would help to launch the mechanisms of competition? Thank you. In fact, this issue is not unique. All the problems that we are facing, these problems were addressed by European countries in the 90s and the beginning of 2000. And the first steps on creating competition and the first directives of European Union, which were directed towards achieving certain objectives, which as of 90s seemed to be revolutionary. That is the commitment of operators of non-competitive sectors to give access to infrastructure, liberalization of supply markets. Also cancelling limitations for supplies. All these issues were important in the 90s. Now we are addressing the same issues. Looking at the experience of Europeans, first of all, we are oriented towards the experience of European Union, European Commission on as to our approaches when we are working on investigation of some cases. what was done after the first and second package in European Union did not address fully the problem. And that led to the fact that from 2005 to 2007, there was a sectoral survey of in the energy sector made, and the result was that there was no liquidity in the market, which is the barrier for access to new players. No integration between different players of the market, no open information, no transparency, which leads to abuse and pricing by subjects. The insufficient level of segregation between the operators of the networks and suppliers. All these issues are very relevant for us today when we are talking about the role of Antimonopoly Committee, about the role of the state policy on how to develop energy sector. We shouldn't be inventing a wheel. The standards on how the market should be operating, they have been developed. More difficult work is implementation of the standards and adapting them to our conditions. How to step away from this situation to get to more competitive market. And then Antimonopoly Committee, we are not regulator, we are not the parliament or the executive body which could be engaged in law drafting activities, but our activity is about setting the standards. We need to help development of fair competition and to define the standards of competitive behavior. And we stated at the round table that practically the priority that we see is in four main areas: establishing bilateral relations between the subjects. They should become the basis for functioning of the market of electricity. Second is forming the price of electricity is to be based on transparent indicators. There should be the regulation from regulator, which should be also transparent. And there should be free competition in the electricity market. We should be the moderator, which on the one hand allows to hear the experts of different competitive agencies, on the other hand
візаві, да, це Національна комісія, яка здійснює регулювання.
And we have the National Commission on regulating the electricity markets, and our task is to help competitive development of the future market. As to launching the market of gas, we quite intensively were cooperating with different subjects, and during the period of the second or third quarter this year, the Antimonopoly Committee processed and gave recommendations on more than 35 drafts of different regulations. Now the Ministry of Justice returned some of the regulations for finalization, but that is a permanent work, and someone has to play the role of the leader in this work, not just a person who within his or her competences should be providing some opinions. We believe that our role is the state agency which is responsible for competition, and we are grateful to organizations, expert organizations that help us, and we are grateful to the state administrative bodies because they hear us and they are ready to keep this dialogue at a high level.
Прошу.
Vitaly Kняжинский, newspaper day. How the vision of the Antimonopoly Committee corresponds to the vision of the natural gas sector. Our foundation yesterday we have the Naftogaz representative at our roundtable discussions. There were also representatives of mass media and ministries, and the matter of reform in Naftogaz and its and branch should be divided. They should. What about reforming the Naftogaz? The separation of its functions as an anti-monopoly committee. We see that the gas market should develop on competitive basis, and it should be reformed on the basis of the standards which have been established and on the basis of European standards regulating such companies' activities. At the same time, this process requires our permanent support and focus and developing the most efficient model. I think that everyone would agree that Naftogaz reform should be in the professional and evolutionary manner. And what about the government? What are the practices of the government? What was the discussion? Could you tell us? The very strict position and was incorporated into the new natural gas market law. The whole range of very complex subordinate legislation should be developed, which then form the reasons for saying that we have the market of natural gas, but we are moving in the right direction, but the pace is not enough fast. But we should go forward on this way. This is inevitable. We are moving to pro-competitive natural gas market, and this is the key thesis that everyone yesterday supported that thesis. This is a key matter. I agree, but we should remember when Naftogaz branches will be even separated from each other, Naftogaz anyway will remain a very powerful entity, even its branches, but Naftogaz itself should understand that as a company it should meet all the requirements and support competition. This matter also was raised yesterday, and Naftogaz proved that they are a responsible company and they will meet all the requirements. The principles in the law, they say that this model is different from the previous one. Our principle is that the wholesale and retail markets should be based on the free market pricing and implementation of free choice of supplier and other principles will bring us to the situation which will be very comparable to that of Ukraine, but the European Union went that way for a very long time, and there were some losses there, and it was a painful process. Even in the markets of European Union, there were very big precedents of violations of anti-corruption legislation, such as Gaz de France, which received the fine of 1.1 billion euros for the violation of the competition law of the European Union. And there is a range of such large precedents of application of fines to national operators who were forced to transform their operations in order to become competitive, to be capable to operate in the competitive markets. And in our market, we understand the role of Naftogaz, its genesis, its historical development. All the matters should be addressed along with us and with the state bodies, and we should learn on European experience and best practices. When we are talking about the European experience, this is the ideology of the Antimonopoly Committee is based just on the system on which the European Union is based. This is not just an example. These components, they coincide in European Union and in Ukraine, because the ideology of the new law on electricity and on natural gas and the principal underlying activities of the Antimonopoly Committee, they are the same. Energy business. Yuriy Alexandrovich, could you tell us, have you heard any interesting recommendations yesterday? And what about the investigations? Were you told to make this process more transparent? I can tell that any professional communication with top-level persons such as international experts, which we met yesterday, it enriches our experience. One of the guests was Hasan Kakaya, who is an expert and expert of the foundation. His expertise is 35 years with UNCTAD, where he managed for 15 years the Committee on Competition and Protection of Consumers' Rights of the UN conference. There were several very interesting speeches and opinions. For example, Mr. Hassan told in his speech about the balance of interests and distribution of rights and duties between the sectoral regulator and ministries, what should be the right balance. The other presentations were more technical. One of them was connected to the US experience on the natural gas market. It was annual turnover of transactions on the natural gas market in the USA. Very interesting information was delivered, and the attitudes of the US Federal Commission on commerce, on separation of distribution from supply. They say that the natural gas market in the US is completely competitive. There are no anti-competitive elements in the US on that marketplace. The interesting information was provided by Bulgarian expert who talked about the regulation in the energy sector in Bulgaria. It was an interesting element they have in the marketplace. They have already experience of bilateral contracts, and they now already see some defects and deficiencies in this contract sphere. They have already passed the denationalization and privatization, and they already have a thermal heat generation sector, and now they see that there are some negative elements on the market of bilateral contracts where large generators, they anyway have too much power on the market, and their relations with consumers are distorted.
All that experience we need to get not just once, but this should be in the regime of real time. And I can say that my experience of the work at the position of the head of Antimonopoly Committee shows that we have a big support from foreign colleagues. Foreign colleagues are ready to help us, are ready to provide assistance, sending the experts to work in the committees. They're ready to train our employees, and they are ready to provide expert assistance for development of legislation and on specific cases.
Фактично, ми бачимо, що
We actually see that in Europe, what is happening in Europe is similar to what is happening in our market. For example, I mentioned during the previous briefing that there's antagonism
ситуація між Національною комісією та однією там генеруючою.
Between one generator and the NERC, and there was the case in 2008 with the owner company, but that was about merger when the conclusion of European Competitive Agency was that the attempt to create artificial shortage, limiting the supply of electricity to the market, is also the form of survival. And there was another case related to regulation of the activities of energy company when the monopoly access to coal creates big problems in generation, because other companies cannot get to heat generation via vertical integration. So all these precedents we do study. As Mr. Tymchenko mentioned correctly, the head of the tech company, the cases which are considered by the committee, they are precedents, and they will be precedents. They will be the important for our market. We look at high standards, and what we do should be professionally both perfect and transparent. Transparency of investigation.
Фактично зараз
Practically now, the transparency in the work of the committee. On the one hand, this is the general principle of our work. Even such press conferences are the elements of such transparency. And there is technical transparency, publication of our decisions, different procedural documents. As to investigations, I believe that most of European experts will agree that there is a certain part of investigation which is exclusively the information of the committee. In some countries, it's even prohibited to discuss certain aspects of investigation because that could demonstrate some non-fairness of the regulators. So we do get information. We inform that the cases were filed. We tell about what were our intermediary decisions, but access to all technical documents of investigation is not very efficient. Thank you. If you have no other questions, I would like to thank our speakers for explaining the policy. In fact, it's very important to form the understanding of the logic of actions of the committee in such important markets. We hope that the fund will help you in knowledge and advice. Thank you.
Думаю, що краще.